Yeah, you're you're hanging out with the boys, just chilling, sipping on your lemonade, on your iced tea, and your homie says, "Yeah, I killed somebody." What, bro? What? The worst truth or dare deaths ever. Let's watch it.
Jump if you dare. On May 24th, 2023, just days after graduating high school, 18-year-old Cameron Robbins from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, was celebrating with several hundred classmates.
Is this the cruise one where they're on a cruise and then his homies make him jump, and then, bro, that just turned out horrible. That was terrible friends, terrible advice. I don't know if it's this one though.
On a trip to the Bahamas. They were staying at the Atlantis Paradise Island Resort in Nassau. That evening, the group attended a sunset party cruise aboard Blackbeard's Revenge, a pirate-themed party boat. Around 9:40 p.m., near the uninhabited Athol Island northeast of Nassau, someone dared Cameron to jump off the boat into the dark ocean.
When things like this happen, it's always insane to me because I always prioritize like myself. That sounds like egotistical, but I don't get peer pressured. It's very hard for me to get peer pressured into anything, especially if it's dangerous. If it's something like, hey, you won't go up to that, it's different. But if it's dangerous like that, I would never do something like this, bro. And the fact that there are friends willing to try to push their homies who they know are easily peer pressured into a dangerous territory, dangerous waters, that's horrible, bro. And the video of this, if you saw the video, it wasn't like you couldn't really see much, but he disappeared. And
several students tried to grab him and stop him. They reached for him, attempting to hold him back, but Cameron broke free from their grip. He jumped into the water. Footage captured the aftermath. Cameron could be seen swimming in the dark waters. Friends threw a life preserver toward him. People screamed, "Grab the buoy! Hey, the buoy!" They were trying desperately to direct him to the flotation device, but Cameron appeared to swim away from it. Within seconds, he vanished from view. The boat remained anchored for hours as students searched frantically. The U.S. Coast Guard, Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and United Cajun Navy searched the waters until about 3 a.m. Royal Bahamas Defense Force Commodore Raymond King called the area really shark-infested. He said, "The probability of survival decreases significantly, particularly if a person did not have on a life vest, and particularly if a person is perceived to be intoxicated." The search covered 325 miles over 2 days. On May 27th, authorities called off the search. Cameron Robbins was officially designated lost at sea. His body was never recovered. A memorial service was held at Broadmoor United Methodist Church in Baton Rouge. Cameron was described by his baseball coach as a fierce competitor and by his family as funny and kind-hearted. My darkest...
There are just times when you gotta understand too, you don't have to look cool. You don't have to try to, one-up somebody. People don't understand that, and we're gonna keep having incidents like this. There's times where friends, they're young though. They were young high schoolers or young adults or whatever, but more individuals just need to learn and put it in their head that you don't need to do all this dumb stuff, you don't need to.
On May 28th, 2018, in the early hours of the morning, a neighbor looked out her window in Heysham, Lancashire, and saw flames at 94-year-old Mary Gregory's bungalow. Firefighters rushed to the scene and found Mrs. Gregory unconscious in the conservatory, suffering from smoke inhalation. She was treated by paramedics and rushed to Royal Lancaster Hospital, but died 4 days later.
How was this a truth or dare? Was her dare to set her own house on fire and see if she could survive? That don't sound like a truth or dare to me.
Investigation by Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service concluded the most probable cause was a dropped or carelessly discarded cigarette. Mrs. Gregory was a heavy smoker with dementia. The coroner recorded a verdict of accidental death. The case was closed. Then, weeks after the funeral, during a game of Truth or Dare with two friends, 17-year-old Tiernan Darnton revealed his darkest secret. He told them,
"Bro, why is it always dumb, like teenagers that are always getting into these dumb messes? I've seen teenagers throw rocks at cars driving by, kill people. I saw a video of a kid throwing a big ass chair in a mall off the top of like the second floor, almost hit somebody. It's always these dumb kids, bro. They need better parents. I'm blaming the parents at this point, because if you had better parents and you feared your parents, you feared their repercussions, you understood what things really meant, how valuable life was, what good and bad was, you would not be doing this."
"I have a secret I haven't told anyone. I may have killed someone." His friends didn't believe him. He persuaded them to keep quiet.
Yeah, you're hanging out with the boys, just chilling, sipping on your lemonade, on your iced tea, and your homie says, "Yeah, I killed somebody." What, bro? What?
But in May 2019, during a counseling session, Darnton mentioned a friend who could send me to prison cause of what he knows. He added that he had felt powerful at Mrs. Gregory's funeral because he knew what had happened and everyone else in the room didn't. The counselor ended the session by saying, "I think you're trying to tell me you've killed someone." Darnton mouthed, "Yes." Police reopened the case. They discovered drawings of Mrs. Gregory's floor plan with labels like "good hiding place" and "quick exit." Evidence showed he had set the curtains on fire with a lighter, unplugged the phone, disabled a smoke alarm, and placed a table in front of the conservatory door.
Are therapists allowed? Isn't that like patient therapist confidentiality? Are they allowed to say something if the dude committed a crime or the girl committed a crime? I never really looked into that. I would assume so, but like in churches, I think Catholic churches, Like when you speak to a priest, right? No matter what you tell them, they cannot go and tell somebody else. They can't tell the police. They can't tell a different priest, a different person. And if they do, they're excommunicated from the church. So do therapists work that way, or is it different for when you admit to a crime? Because, bro, if I'm a therapist, I'm either snitching or punching on that kid.
To block her escape. Investigators found disturbing searches under 18 murder and how long do murderers serve in prison. In November 2021, Darnton was convicted of murder and sentenced to life with a minimum of 15 years. The bridge incident. On a summer day in
15 years? Was he not 17? Damn, good thing they took it serious. 15 years isn't even enough, bro, for a pre-planned meditated murder. Put that boy in life. You know what? I take that back. Death penalty. Death penalty for all murderers. That's my new take.
2024, two teenagers, ages 15 and 16, were part of a group chat where dares were being shared among friends. The conversation turned to jumping off a bridge into Lake Hartwell, South Carolina. The pressure mounted through messages. Other teens egged them on. The two decided to go through with it. They drove to the bridge and climbed onto the railing. The drop to the water below was significant.
You know, sometimes I'll be thinking like, damn, people always talking about dudes and like how dudes are evil dudes, do this, you know what I'm saying? But so far, all these dares have been surrounded around men. So are we just all dumb? Are we just all dumb people that we just do whatever, like when we don't even think straight?
Without hesitation, both teens jumped. They plunged into Lake Hartwell. Friends watching from the shore expected to see them surface. Seconds passed, then minutes. Neither came back up. Emergency services were called immediately. Dive teams searched the lake. Eventually, both bodies were recovered. Neither teen had made it back to shore. The local community was devastated. Candlelight vigils were held. Parents gathered, holding candles and photographs of the two teenagers. Flowers and messages were left at the bridge. In the days that followed, parents across the community warned about peer pressure games spreading through social media. The group chat that had contained the dare was examined by authorities. Friends who had participated in encouraging the jump were left traumatized. Counselors were brought into local schools. The deaths sparked conversations about the deadly
In situations like this, I think it's always just a missing parental figure. I'm not going to blame the parents all the time because it's obviously a kid's dumb choice as well. But there's always like a missing authoritative figure that they don't tell you what's right and wrong. I remember we went cliff jumping, me and my brothers, we went cliff jumping and there was this tall cliff and we would jump off it like just because we wanted to do it. And my oldest brother would tell me, no, bro, that's dangerous. That's dumb. And I still went ahead and did it, not even realizing how dangerous it is. Looking back now, I was so in the wrong. Like, I'm dumb. Listen, bro. We don't listen to people who we know are right just because we feel like, oh, we don't want your authority.
Consequences of online dares. The bridge where the teenagers jumped became a memorial site. Parents begged other teenagers to think before accepting dangerous dares, no matter how much pressure they felt from their peers. The community mourned 2 young lives lost to a moment of reckless decision-making. The boiling water.
You really do got to be logical. It doesn't mean you can't ever do a dare, right? But you just got to, is it a dare that can end your life or is it a dare that will embarrass you or you might get hurt?
Incident. On March 22, 2017, in Florida, 8-year-old Kihari Pope was at a sleepover with her cousin and friends. The children decided to play Truth or Dare. The game started innocently enough. Then, someone dared Kihari to drink boiling water through a straw. The other children thought it would be funny to see if she would actually do it. Kihari accepted the dare. She put the straw to her lips and drank the scalding liquid. Immediately, she began screaming in agony. The boiling water burned her mouth, throat, and lungs. She collapsed. The adults rushed her to the hospital. Doctors discovered she had suffered.
That is beyond evil. Whoever was the girl that recommended that, whoever was the girl that brought up the boiling water, that's like premeditated, bro. I know they're little kids, but that is so evil. You know it's hot. You know it's gonna burn.
Severe internal burns to her throat and respiratory system. Kihari was placed in intensive care. She underwent multiple surgeries. For months, she lived with severe complications from the burns. Her airway was damaged. She struggled to breathe. The internal injuries were catastrophic. Despite the medical team's efforts, Kihari's condition continued to deteriorate. The damage to her throat and lungs was too extensive. Eventually, 4 months later, she died from the injuries sustained from drinking the boiling water. The case shocked the nation. Parents were horrified that such a simple dare.
That is terrible. Such a simple dare, bro. That's a terrible dare. That's not a simple dare. Who would drink boiling water? I'm trying to think of the worst thing I ever did to another kid when I was a kid. And I'm honestly, I feel like low-key proud to say I don't think I ever did something so bad. I think the most I did was maybe make fun of somebody or spill a drink on somebody on purpose or, I just thought about the worst thing I ever did as a kid and I can't even talk because I remember in middle school, I was just playing around. I didn't even realize what happened. I remember I grabbed a kid's backpack and spun him around and he fell and I thought he just fell, right? And then we went back to the classroom. Turns out the next day he comes back with a broken arm. And it was because of me, because he fell and landed on his arm. I felt so bad, bro, and I still feel bad. I feel guilty. Like, I did not mean to do that. And that was like the worst thing I ever done to another kid. But by that point, I already knew what is wrong and what is right. I never like bullied a kid. I never purposely did anything to a kid. Maybe in like kindergarten, I might have made fun of somebody. Kids and teenagers and adults who do evil stuff on purpose, bro, y'all are insane.
Dare could result in death. Warning messages spread across social media about the deadly risks of dares among children. Kihari's family spoke out, hoping to prevent other children from accepting dangerous dares. Her death became a cautionary tale in schools across the country. The children who had dared her to drink the boiling water were left traumatized by what had happened. Kihari Pope was just 8 years old. The slug incident. On a warm evening in 2010, 19-year-old Sam Ballard was at a party in Sydney, Australia, with his rugby teammates. They were drinking wine in a backyard. The conversation was lighthearted. Then someone spotted a garden slug crawling across the patio. As a joke, one of Sam's friends dared him to swallow it. Everyone laughed. It seemed like harmless fun. Sam picked up the slug and swallowed it whole. Everyone cheered.
What was it, poisonous? Was it like venomous or something that caused some neurotoxin to destroy his brain?
The party continued. Sam went home that night thinking nothing of it. Days passed. Then Sam began feeling strange. He developed severe pain in his legs. Within weeks, he could barely walk. He went to the hospital. Doctors discovered the slug had carried rat lungworm parasites. The parasites had infected Sam's brain, causing a severe infection called eosinophilic meningoencephalitis. Sam fell into a coma for 420 days. When he finally woke up, he was paralyzed from the neck down. The infection had left him a quadriplegic. He couldn't walk, couldn't feed himself, couldn't breathe without assistance. For 8 years, Sam lived with severe disabilities, requiring around-the-clock care. His mother became his full-time caregiver. Sam's friends were devastated by what their dare had caused. In 2018, 8 years after swallowing the slug, Sam Ballard died from complications related to the infection. He was 28 years old. His death highlighted the hidden dangers that can lurk in seemingly innocent dares. Sam's friends carried the weight of what had happened for the rest of their lives. The fireworks incident.
I can't give nobody a pass for that, but you wouldn't even think eating a slug would do some things like that. People eat bugs all the time, right? You wouldn't even think eating a slug would cause somebody to die. So I understand the friends part on that point, like being guilty. It's not like they wanted to do something horrible to him.
On October 24th, 2024, during Diwali celebrations in Bengaluru, India, a group of friends gathered to celebrate the Festival of Lights. Fireworks were everywhere. The night air was filled with explosions and colorful displays. The men had been drinking, and the atmosphere was festive and reckless.
There's always alcohol involved, bro. Ban alcohol. We need to bring back prohibition. I don't care if it didn't work. We need to bring it back, bro. Alcohol is not the way, the light and the life. That's Jesus.
Someone brought out a large box of fireworks and suggested a dare. They challenged a 32-year-old man in the group to sit on top of the box while they lit the fuses. Friends laughed and egged him on. The man, emboldened by alcohol and peer pressure, agreed. He climbed onto the box and sat down. His friends lit the fireworks. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire box exploded beneath him. The force of the blast was catastrophic. The man was thrown into the air. The explosives detonated with tremendous power, causing fatal injuries. Friends screamed and rushed to help, but it was too late. Emergency services arrived quickly.
What did they think was going to happen if they told him to put a bomb under his butt, sit on it, and let it explode? What did they think was going to happen? I can't even blame the alcohol at this point. The alcohol obviously caused them to think it was going to be fine. But bro, you got to have higher IQ than that. How are all these people dumb? And I'm not coming from a place of I'm perfect. I've never made no stupid mistakes, right? But I'm thinking like I would never do no deadly mistakes like this. Even with fireworks, I'm extremely careful. If I light it up, I'll run away. I'll run, bro. I tell people to get back. I used to like fire as a kid. I almost blew my hand off. So I am dumb, but that was when I was a kid.
But the man died at the scene from his injuries. Witnesses told police it had been part of a dare. The case received widespread coverage across India. News outlets showed footage of the aftermath, warning others about the dangers of combining alcohol, fireworks, and peer pressure. The man's family was left to mourn a senseless death. His friends who had encouraged the dare were left traumatized and guilt-ridden. Authorities used the incident as a warning during future Diwali celebrations. Senior Assassin Incident. On a day in May 2025.
If you don't know what Senior Assassin is, it's basically like a game in a high school where everybody has a target and you have to eliminate that target, and like the last person that survives wins the game or something like that, right? You play it as seniors and it just goes something like that. People really actually do get butthurt over this. There's clips of people crying when they lose, but it's supposed to be a lighthearted, fun game like a water gun or a stick. I forgot what the weapon is. It depends what school or what area you're in.
High school seniors in Arlington, Texas were participating in Senior Assassin, a popular end-of-school tradition. The game involves students chasing each other with water guns, trying to eliminate opponents. It's meant to be harmless fun, a way for graduating seniors to bond before heading to college. Players track each other's locations and stage surprise attacks. That afternoon, 17...
So how could this possibly turn deadly? What dumb idiot high schooler decided to bring a real gun or put boiling water into the water gun or put acid into, like, man, kids are just dumb.
18-year-old Isaac Leal was participating in the game with friends. They had spotted their target and began pursuit in a Jeep. The chase intensified. The vehicle accelerated through streets. The adrenaline was high. The teenagers were laughing and yelling, caught up in the excitement of the game. As the pursuit continued, Isaac climbed onto the back of the moving Jeep. He was trying to get a better position during the chase. Friends later said he was riding on the exterior of the vehicle. Then the Jeep hit a bump in the road. Isaac lost his grip and fell from the moving vehicle onto the street. His head hit the pavement with devastating force. The Jeep screeched to a halt. Friends
Bro, this is so crazy because something similar actually happened to me. While I'm talking crazy about all these bad decisions people make, I made a horrible decision. We were riding an ATV in Mexico, and I was sitting on the front because we had too many people on it. And we were going hella fast. We saw a speed bump, or the driver saw a speed bump that nobody caught. He tried slowing down. We hit it. I flew off. And I smacked the ground. But luckily, thank God, the worst thing that happened to me was just I burned my leg. Basically, I got a really big scar on my leg. I didn't hit my head. I didn't break any bones, and it was one of the scariest things that ever happened in my life. And I knew that was dangerous, so I can't blame this kid. He probably thought it was fun. He got caught up in the moment. It's just insane what teenagers and young men do. We don't realize certain stuff is so dangerous, and then we're not grateful when we're alive, being alive every day. Like, I'm so grateful for that every single day. But yeah, this is crazy, man. It's never that serious. A game is never that serious. You don't gotta ever do something that's overly dangerous, you know? Just take caution.
jumped out, screaming. Someone called emergency services. Isaac was rushed to the hospital with catastrophic head injuries. For weeks, he remained in intensive care, clinging to life. Doctors did everything they could. His family kept vigil at his bedside, but the injuries were too severe. In early June 2025, after weeks in the hospital, Isaac Leal died from his injuries. Investigators confirmed the death occurred during the Senior Assassin game. The incident sparked debate about whether such games should be banned. Some schools across Texas immediately prohibited the tradition. If you'd like to see more stories like
Well, yeah, guys, that's the end of the video. Be smart in life. Do not do anything outrageous. Do not do anything super dangerous. And, be grateful every day that you're on earth. Thank God we're all here. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next year or next week or next tomorrow.